Hello, welcome back to Buckle Up. My name is Rob Wilson and this is the brand new Volvo EX30 Cross Country. And today I'm going to find out if it's any good. Right, okay then, so before we drive it, let's have a quick look around the outside, and we'll start as usual at the front, where you can see that the main difference really is this black section of the front of the car. Now, this being an electric car, it obviously isn't functional, it's not a grille, so they didn't need to implement something here. Now, you might think this is just for pure styling reasons, and yes, there is a topographical map on there of some unpronounceable Swedish location, which I'm not going to do because I don't want to offend anyone, but it also has a practical purpose. According to the designers, this has been put on here because if you are off-roading, driving along a road and there's stone, gravel coming at the front of the car, this is much better than hitting your metal or the plastic parts of the front of the car, and it's much more easily replaceable if it is damaged. And speaking of potential damage to the front of the car, you'll notice that we've got some additional cladding down here towards the bottom of the car, finished in this sort of matte grey. And underneath there, we have a proper skid plate as well. We also have the usual Thor hammer headlights that we've become used to on Volvo cars. And it's actually worth noting that on this version, under that bonnet, there is a very small compartment for storing the charging cables and warning triangle in, should you need to. But we'll have a look down the side where we can see more of that off-roady action. Here you get a much clearer view of the increased ride height that this car offers over the standard one. So we've got 19 millimeters of additional ground clearance, and you will note that we have some new alloy wheel designs. Now, as standard, the car comes with 19-inch wheels like this with these tyres on, but you can pay Volvo some money, and instead of getting bigger wheels for your money, they give you smaller wheels, so you can get some 18s with proper off-roading tyres on there. So they are really leaning into that cross-country styling and the heritage that comes with that badge. You'll also note that we've got some additional black cladding around the wheel arches, which supposedly is scratch proof. We've got some more plasticky bits down here that helps to make this car look more rugged, and obviously means that if you are off-roading, you're going to be damaging these bits rather than the metal bits of the doors. We've got these frameless door mirrors, which have very much become a Volvo design cue over the years. And round on the other side, you would see the charging flap, and all you need to know basically is that it will charge from 10 to 80% in less than half an hour, so all good there. We've also got some cross-country badges, as well as some more underbody protection down here to keep you safe if you are doing some off-roading. And then at the back, you can see that they've copied this black section from the front and brought it round here so that it gives it a more distinctive style over the standard car. On there, we've obviously got the Volvo script written out. We've got a rear wiper, we've got some more cross-country badges down here, and there's a rear skid plate under there as well. Now, obviously, this is badged as an EX30 Twin Performance because this car is based on the standard EX30 Twin Motor Ultra platform. It's obviously then just been off-roadified. But yeah, let's open up the electronic boot, which I've been using over the past 3 days here in Wales. We've been doing some fun stuff, but in here we have 318 litres of space, which isn't the biggest in class, there's no doubt about that, but it isn't necessarily the smallest either. And there's been a lot of work gone into making it as easy to use as possible. With how the boot floor operates, I know that that's a pain in the arse from experience of reviewing all these different kind of cars. This one is truly a one-hander, as in you can operate the boot floor easily with just one hand. There is 60/40 folding seats, as well as some tie-down points in each of the corners, and you have a 12-volt socket in there as well. But I'll close that up and then I'll go and try out those back seats and see How will I fit? Okay, so here in the back, you might be able to see that there isn't really all that much room back here. And that's because ultimately this is quite a small car that is just been upgraded to be more off-roady. So this seat is set up in my driving position. I am 6'2" or 188 centimeters tall for reference. And as you can see, I am really struggling to get my knees behind that front seat. But I also am having a bit of a problem with where my feet go, because this floor is mounted very high. That's not unusual for electric cars because obviously the batteries have to go somewhere, and it's usually at the expense of foot room. So my legs are at a bit of an angle and it's not particularly comfortable back here. It's also not a particularly wide car, so if you had 3 people in the back here, I think it would be a bit of a squeeze, especially because there is actually a slight hump in the floor. Normally a lot of electric cars just have a completely flat floor, but yeah, not brilliant for room here, for leg room or foot room. However, if I sit up straight, because we've got this massive panoramic glass roof, my head isn't actually touching there at all, so I am fine for headroom. It just means I have to sit more upright. And then in terms of features that we've got back here, well, it's very minimalist. So there is nothing on the door cards other than an armrest. There is a door pocket and your door handle to get in and out. But all of the stuff that you have back here, your window controls, are on this center console here. So if I want to lower that window, I do so from the center console. Bit odd, but that's how it's all been set up. You also have 2 USB-Cs and a bit of a cubby there as well. There is a cubby further down which actually can slide out, and you'll see that there is some pattern design here that's very Swedish. We've got some nice looking trees and a bit of a reindeer or a moose or something going on there. So yes, a little bit of fun in the back here as well. We obviously, being a Volvo, have many safety things. So Isofix is of course standard, and there are airbags galore around the cabin. But what I think I'll do now is hop up into those front seats and see what's going on in the front. Up here, the minimalism continues because, well, there is very little to see up here other than your central screen, which is 12.3 inches and portrait, which makes it a little bit different to some other rivals out there. Now, for those who don't know, Volvo systems have Google Maps built into them, but you can obviously connect your Apple CarPlay now if you want to. That didn't used to be a thing, but that is now possible. So you can run that through there as well. And there are no buttons here at all. It's all controlled through the screen. So even things like the glove box, which is mounted centrally, not on the passenger side, if I press that button, opens here and you have your handbook and a screen cleaner in there as well. Now, the reason that they've done all of these things is because it makes it cheaper to make the car left or right hand drive. So all of the information that you would normally have in a screen behind the steering wheel is in this portrait screen. So you've got your drive selector, you've got your speed in this central thing as well. So it's very much like a Tesla Model 3 or an Ineos Grenadier, weirdly, also has that setup. There is no driver information directly here. There is no heads-up display, because if you wanted to do that, you probably have to remove this gigantic Harman Kardon speaker system, which is mounted right across the bottom of the windscreen. And again, that's been put there because you don't then have to put speakers in the doors, which opens it up and gives this cabin actually quite an airy feeling for the size of the car, and bigger door pockets. But yes, very similar to the back. It's just armrest, door pockets, door handle. That's it. Your window switch controls are here in the center, same as in the back. Now you'll also see that I have some cup holders in here, but they can slide out of the way if needed to make even more space, but I'll open up those and pop the cup in there. We do have a couple of phone holders down here in the center below the screens as well, which wirelessly charge your phone. And then if I lift up these little covers here, we can see we have some more storage further down in the cabin and a couple more USB-Cs as well. But the main things you really need to know is that it is incredibly minimalist in here. There isn't a lot going on. It's mainly controlled through the screen. If you don't like that, that's definitely something to consider before looking at one of these. But what I think I'll do now is head out on the road and give it a drive. Right, okay then, so driving the EX30 Cross Country. And I guess I'll start by talking about the figures, because I mentioned earlier on that this car is based upon the standard EX30 but with the twin motor Ultra specification. So this car shares a lot of the figures and underpinnings of that vehicle. So we've got the same 422 brake horsepower, 543 newton meters of torque. However, this is a little bit slower to 60, only marginally. It's 3.7 seconds as opposed to 3.6. So I think you'll be able to live with that. In terms of what we've got going on underneath, well, we've got the same 69 kilowatt hour battery, of which 64 kilowatt hours is usable. And then that means that we've got a range of 264 miles according to WLTP. But it is worth noting, if you go for those 18-inch wheels with the off-road tyres, then your range will drop to 230 miles. So that is something to consider. So let's talk about the price, because if you buy this version of this car, it starts from 47,060 of your Great British pounds, which basically means it's 2,000 and a bit pounds more than just going for the standard EX30 twin motor Ultra. And then you've got to consider, is it worth the extra over that car? Well, I think I'll come back to that when I do the conclusion, but now I'll talk more about the driving dynamics, because while it is obviously very similar, as I keep saying, to the standard car, the increased ride height of 19 millimeters does mean that we have a bit more play in the chassis, because it obviously leans a little bit more. I like that. I like a car that leans and wallows about just a little bit, not too much. Don't want to be sick when I'm driving, but it just gives a bit more feeling to everything that you're doing, all the inputs that you're putting in. And obviously you can flick through the different drive modes and go from range, which means eco, standard, performance, and you can fiddle around to your heart's content, really, with the steering, weights and all of that sort of stuff. And to be honest, it's not the most fulfilling driving experience I've ever had, but it's really not bad. It's an electric car with electric steering, so it's quite numb, but obviously it does feel really bloody quick when you put your foot down, because it isn't a big car and it has big power. But then in terms of handling and how it goes around corners, well, yeah, it's incredibly planted, as you would expect with the all-wheel drive system that this car has, and that Volvo sense of security and safety that's always paramount when they're designing their cars. It's also worth noting that this car is actually quite small. The footprint isn't massive. It's not that wide on the road. I'm here in Wales testing the car over 3 days. I've driven it in all sorts of different environments. I have done a time trial around a quarry, a slate mine, so I can confirm that it is definitely capable of doing the off-road roughy-tufty stuff. Right, okay then, so that is the EX30 well and truly tested. So, what am I thinking? Well, is it worth the £2,000 over the standard EX30 twin motor Ultra? I think yes it is, because for me personally, I think this is a much better looking car because of the cross-country stuff that has been added. I love the black elements that they've put into the front and rear. I love the fact that it's got the actual increased ride height. It's got the proper off-road stuff underneath it, the skid plates, front, back, sides, you name it. They have done enough, in my opinion, to warrant the extra money, and for me, it looks better because of it. So, thank you very much for watching the video. If you've enjoyed it, please give it a like and comment down below. Let me know your thoughts on the car, but most importantly, please do subscribe to the Buckle Up YouTube channel and ding that notification bell so you never miss one of our uploads. If you want to support what we do, you can check out the description below where we've got links to our social media. You can become a channel member or you can buy some merch. But thank you again for watching, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.